It's a new week of baseball. I'm Isaiah Butler. Let's get right into the throwdown.
I'm Logan Hansen. Let's start off with the leadoff. Fantasy became reality when Reds outfielder Tommy Pham was suspended 3 games after he slapped Giants' Joc Pederson, allegedly over a dispute between the two's fantasy football league, making for one of the most interesting altercations in recent MLB history. The White Sox designated starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel for assignment, which will lead to his release after he struggled to a 7.88 ERA in 8 starts on the season. On Memorial Day, Giants manager Gabe Kapler paused his protest of the national anthem and stood during the presentation of the colors during the day that honors those who have fallen protecting the country.
The Tigers promoted Coody Clemens, Rogers' youngest son, to the active roster Monday. Coody is the first of Rogers' 4 sons to make it to the big leagues. Yankees pitcher Jameson Taillon threw 7 perfect innings before giving up 1 hit in the top of the 8th against the Angels on Thursday. The Yankees would go on to win the game 2-1. The Phillies made the first coaching change of the season when they relieved Joe Girardi of his duties as manager on Friday. Bench coach Rob Thompson was named interim manager for the club through the end of the season. I was able to catch up with Jessica Coody, a Nebraska Cornhusker radio personality, and we talked a little bit about the Women's College World Series. Back here with Jessica Coody, the Nebraska Huskers radio host. She hosts a bunch of videos, does everything differently with the Nebraska Cornhuskers now. Jessica, how are we doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good, as well as you can on any day, you know. But I just wanted to talk briefly with you about the Women's College World Series that is going on right now, kind of in the middle of it. But just want to go over some questions with you here. So over the years, what have you noticed with the Women's College World Series? Like, how have you seen it, the popularity, like, progress and become better in the sports world? Like, what have you noticed is like the main factor of that, or factors in that popularity growing?
Yeah, well, I mean, it really has. And I have covered the Women's College World Series. This is the first year in several. I'm not there and not checking it out. And it has been, I mean, I started covering it in, I think, like 2009. And the stadium was smaller. They didn't have the fields on the outside. And it is crazy how much the sport has grown in just the last decade, in popularity and just competition, all of the above. But I think a lot of things play into that. It's a fun game. It's a fun game to watch. It's fast, it's easy to follow. And then if you watch the teams and you watch the players, they have fun. They're not afraid to show emotion. They enjoy being out there. They're cheering on each other. It's a fun, to me personally, if a fan of sports, I like to watch people enjoying what they're doing and having fun playing the game. And that is what you see in college softball. And then I just think you've seen, it used to be a pitcher's game. It was a pitcher's game, but now it's, you see all the bats and the home runs that are being hit. And the game has just grown tremendously in competition. There's more players. There's more good players, I guess, across the country. And so you're seeing more parity. Mm-hmm. And it's just overall, I think, and the exposure that college softball has gotten with ESPN. I mean, every single regional game this year, every single postseason game was on ESPN in some way, shape, form, or fashion, whether it be Plus, yep, ESPN2, ESPN. And then this, in the Women's College World Series, they're going to have games on ABC. So that's just massive for the sport. The more you see it, the more you provide it for fans to see, the more people are going to latch onto it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's crazy to see. Like, I just got ESPN Plus now, and this year, and to see everything on there is awesome to see. But along with that NIL stuff, how do you think that's going to affect, like, because when you get down to the last 4 teams, you feel like that exposure is like at the top, like those players are getting the top exposure, obviously. But NIL stuff, how do you think that's going to affect, like, the players and, like, going to different schools and everything? Just softball, how does NIL affect softball mainly?
Yeah, I mean, I think it affects every sport, but for softball, I think you look at the different programs and the different, how fans follow the different programs. I'll speak, for example, for Oklahoma. I know they have a lot of NIL deals. You look at Jocelyn Allo, but
Right.
Jocelyn Allo, it's not just because she's at Oklahoma, she's the best hitter in the game and arguably ever. And so of course people are going to want to, provide her those NIL opportunities. Oklahoma is the powerhouse right now. So I know they've got a lot of NIL deals lined up, but the same can be said for Nebraska volleyball because Nebraska volleyball is so dominant. So I think, and has tremendous fan support. So, I think you're going to see the programs that have the most support and have the, the collectives in place and all of that. That's where, I think, is NIL going to be the same for softball as it is for football? No, probably not. I think there will be players that get a lot of deals, but I think NIL is only just scratching the surface with softball. And I think the more that this unfolds and, depending on, I don't really know what the SEC schools do, but I know they probably throw a lot of support behind their athletes and trying to get good programs in. I believe, I think I heard Arkansas has been doing really well in their NIL landscape. So I think it'll continue to grow and absolutely the teams that have the most exposure. And it's not just the Women's College World Series. It's what are your social media platforms doing?
Right.
How are they helping you to grow your brand and give you that exposure and to help you build your own social media platform? So it's kind of a little bit of everything. But yeah, I think the NIL opportunities, I think, can only help grow the game more because you might have a player go somewhere that she might not have gone before for these NIL opportunities,
right? Because,
maybe before they were just going to where can we win? But if you have these NIL opportunities on the table, because with softball, there's not a pro league, there's not a lucrative pro league once you are done playing collegiately.
Right.
So if you've got a massive NIL deal on the table to go somewhere, you might see a player change a little bit of a trajectory of a program that she's looking for with those kinds of opportunities.
Gotcha. Yeah, you mentioned Oklahoma. So I'll just wrap up with this, but you mentioned Oklahoma being the powerhouse. They always are. It always feels like Oklahoma, like Florida. Those are always the top teams, it seems like, that are in the running to win the whole thing. But from this World Series, what do you expect? Who do you expect to come out on top? Do we expect Oklahoma to be upset somewhere, or are they going to probably take the cake, or take the whole thing? What do you expect from this World Series?
Yeah, it's hard to bet against the Sooners. The way that they've just dominated all year long, they have the pitching, they have the bats. But I will say this though, you look at the field, and normally in softball, a lot of times it's chalk that makes it to the Women's College World Series, or there might be one team that got in that maybe people didn't expect to get in. But this year there were so many upsets, and there's 3 unseeded teams. There's 14 Florida, there's 9 Northwestern. So there's a little bit more parity, I think, in the game. But going back to Oklahoma's dominance, Oklahoma State and Texas both in the field. Huge rivals of Oklahoma, the 2 teams that have given Oklahoma losses. Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma on that field for the Big 12 title. Now, I think that will fuel Oklahoma, and they'll be a little bit mad and angry about that. But Oklahoma State won't be scared, and they will believe that they can beat Oklahoma. Because a lot of times, because you mentioned it, and they're a powerhouse, and a lot of times they win the game just by stepping on the field in that Oklahoma uniform. But Oklahoma State and Texas are not going to be scared of Oklahoma. And Texas is hot right now, and it's going to be fun to see how this all unfolds. The fact that you throw in the rivalry element to it, because crazy things happen in rivalries, right? So there's Oklahoma's 2 biggest rivals are in that, and then you mentioned it. You got Florida, who has been there and knows how to win it too. UCLA also, even though they didn't look necessarily great in their first game, but it's going to be fun to see it all unfold. But I don't know. It's hard to say that Oklahoma is absolutely the clear favorite, but if I had to maybe give a team a chance to give them a run for their money, it'd be one of their 2 rivals, Texas or Oklahoma State.
Gotcha. Well, thanks, Jessica, for joining us. That'll wrap up this episode of The Throwdown, and we'll catch everyone next time.